well, hello. I am so ready for a Lengro Late Night Live. It is Wednesday, the 18th of August. How's your summer holidays going? I am Claire Petcher-Lengro.
And I'm Jack Tyler.
Jack, who have we got in the comments tonight?
Oh, so Nigel Porter's there. Hi, Nigel. Amber. Hi, Amber. Lovely to see you. And we want to know today, don't we, about how parents are getting on, because we're halfway through the summer holidays now. And are we having parental burnout? Are you having parental burnout?
Last night I didn't have parental burnout because I went over to Gemma's mum's house, Linda, and got used to a hot tub and made homemade pizzas. And then I certainly reversed it today because we went to something called Jump Zone, where I did a zip wire and I also, it was a short one, but it was a hard one. And I also did this thing where you had to jump from a very high height onto your bum. And I came home with matted hair and so I have had a bit of parental burnout. What about you? Because your kids are older.
Yeah, but I remember it. I remember when I think I used to have parental burnout on about the second day of the summer holidays. And it was, mine never used to get on. They used to fight all the time. So, wherever I took them, they'd be fighting. If we took them swimming, they'd have to see who could stay under the water the longest. It was they're always in competition. And I remember when I used to send them out in the garden, they had to go separately. So one used to have to go out for half an hour, come in, then the other one used to have to go out because they just used to fight all the time. I must be so embarrassed what the neighbours thought.
I've got a question for you, and I want you to ask it very honestly, Jack, with the promise that if you answer honestly, our viewers will too. Chrissy Wheatley says, how are you, Claire and Jack? We're good. I used to dread the summer holidays. My question is, how many of you have ever gone to the toilet when you didn't need it just to get away from your children when they were young?
Well, my children were young. They used to follow me into the toilet when they were like really young. You could never escape.
And mine indeed. Now, let's get started with the show. It's a very special lady's birthday today that never ages, isn't it, Jack?
Exactly. So it's the Queen of Pop, Madonna, has turned 63. Actually, I think she turned 63 on Tuesday, but she's been celebrating all week.
Let's have a look. Let's bring her up as I remember her.
This is
first remember and first ever got into Madonna, of course, in Desperately Seeking Susan. And I do have to admit that I did used to have the lace gloves as well. Did you have a Madonna phase, Jack?
She was my icon. I absolutely loved her, but I used to have the lace around the hair. I used to have the permed hair and then the lace ribbon round. I used to have the gloves. But that jacket in Desperately Seeking Susan was amazing. Do you remember it?
It was absolutely incredible. Now, am I supposed to bring up the new photographs first?
Yes, we need her birthday photos up because she was celebrating her birthday with her family in Italy. And that's her birthday cake, which is in the shape of a cross. But all 6 children went with her and her 27-year-old dancer boyfriend.
Oh,
so they all had an amazing time in Italy. I think we've got some, there he is there.
Look, I mean, she looks younger there than she did in the Desperately Seeking Susan photograph. That's absolutely
amazing. Yeah.
Have a little look.
That's all her children there.
Wow. That is inspirational, really, isn't it, as well? To raise that many children and to have the career that she's had. That's absolutely incredible. What she is. For her birthday?
Sorry, what was that?
What did she get for her birthday?
Well, actually, she got some great presents. She got a beautiful bag. I don't know whether we've got the picture of the bag that she got.
Ooh.
And that says, "My crown is in my heart, not on my head." Well, I love that.
Oh, I do. But
actually, something that she went on Instagram and asked her fans to donate. Well, she built a hospital in Malawi called the Mercy James Centre. And it's the only hospital of its kind for paediatric surgery and intensive care for children. And they've saved thousands and thousands of children. But she was asking her fans if they would donate to the hospital. She said it's expensive to keep hospital going and she can't do it all on her own. And by donating money, they can buy a bed for a child to recuperate after an operation. So that's a really worthy cause that she's been asked for help.
Amazing. So as the Queen of Pop turned 63, what are your favourite Madonna songs or memories? My favorite memory is I think I was 16 years of age, and my parents allowed me to go with one of my best friends, Lou Hendon, and we actually went up to London and saw her Blonde Ambition tour, and it was absolutely incredible how she can hold a stage, move that much, and sing at the same time. Absolutely incredible woman, she really is.
I saw her Who's That Girl tour. That was absolutely, you know, when she had that really short blonde hair.
Yeah,
I think we've got a picture of that as well. But that was just amazing, because
I mean,
that was at Wembley, and I lived quite close, so you could hear the music, you know, from my house. But I remember walking there with all the crowd, and then walking home after. We were all buzzing. Yeah, there she is. She was just incredible. But she's been incredible at every stage of her life, hasn't she? Really.
well, she's tried everything, hasn't she? I mean, how kind of her for the nation to try a 27-year-old boyfriend in her 60s as well. You know, you got to thank her, haven't you? We want to
You
know
do.
your stories. Maybe you've met her. I've got a confession to make as well. So I had a Madonna poster up in my bedroom when I was a child. And when I was 19 and I went to live in America for 3 years, I got lots of other jobs as well to support myself. And I'd read her, not her sort of autobiography, but ones that other people had written about her. And I'd found out that she worked at the Russian tea rooms in New York. So one of the jobs that I went to work, went and applied for, was as a hat check girl at the Russian tea rooms. But I got a job at a jazz club instead. So I never made it, but I wanted to get this job just to work where she, you know, where
Well,
she.
that's how she started out, because she was also a dancer and a backing singer, and then she was a waitress as well to earn the money, you know. And then I think she formed a band, and then she went solo. And then, I mean, I've got some facts if you want to hear some facts, some Madonna facts.
The Madonna facts.
Okay, so she rose to fame, obviously, in the 80s, waitressing in New York. Her career started with a debut single, Everybody, in 1982. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
And then, yeah, 1984, she released a second album, Like a Virgin. I mean, who could forget that? Do you remember her in Venice on the gondola?
Yeah.
Amazing. And then 1985 was Desperately Seeking Susan, that we just saw. And she dedicated her True Blue album to Sean Penn, her first husband. I loved them together, didn't you?
Well, I loved Sean Penn, and
Yeah.
there were reports, weren't there, that they drove each other so crazy that when they split up, the sort of iconic moment when they split up, as they were arguing, he couldn't shut her up, so he tied her and left her. He tied her to a chair and left her to cool down as well. But what an incredible!
I think that was her true love. I'm sure if you asked her now, she would say he was her one true love, I'm sure. But that album was actually her most successful album, and she sold 25 million copies of that.
Wow, that was the album that had Papa Don't Preach on as well.
Yeah.
It was only after Like a Virgin that people started going back and looking for the previous first album that nobody had really heard, wasn't it?
Of course, also, do you remember when she was Eva Peron in Evita?
Oh, yes, I do. And I still hear that song sometimes on the radio stations I listen to. I know we've got some other photographs of Madonna to bring up later, but while we're on the dating question as well, do you know anything about this date that apparently took place?
I don't. Do you know about that date?
I do, and I do from reading the books on Madonna when I was younger. So
Yeah.
apparently, both of their press offices put them together, and they were sort of told to go on a date together, and they ended up going back to his house, eating popcorn and watching a movie together, and that was her date with Michael Jackson. No kissing and nothing else. They watched a movie, and that was the end of it. But
yeah, that's not surprising, is it, with Michael Jackson? That's what you'd expect.
Not surprising at all. And we've got some more photographs and facts to bring up later. Let's have a little look. We've got some more comments. So let's just move on from Madonna at the moment. Not that we can ignore an iconic figure like that. But could you read out Chrissy Wheatley's comment, please?
Yeah. I was on a live the other night, and these people said about the elderly people being lonely. And I commented and said, it's not just old people that feel lonely. It can happen to anyone at any age. Oh my God, the feedback I got was terrible. I was just saying everyone feels lonely sometimes. Oh, I don't know why you got bad feedback, Chrissy, because I mean, it's true, isn't it? Especially after, during lockdown, it's just, and people are finding it hard to get over it anyway, aren't they? So
yeah, Absolutely. I think we're very lucky on our Lengro lives and also on the other pages I work on that we do get an awful lot of positive comments. But I think that once you do go deeper or in different avenues on social media, you're always going to get haters or negative people. And it's normally because they feel negative within themselves and want to reflect that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Kim Gary says that she's lonely as well. Well, Kim, I'm glad you're here with us today and hope we can cheer you up tonight.
Absolutely, because if you look at the bottom of the screen, guys, coming up a little bit later, sorry, is folklore, myths, and legends. But what you're known for, Jack Tyler, is some celeb news and
Okay.
gossip. So come on, give it up.
Okay, so let's start with Nicole Kidman.
Let's have a little look at Nicole Kidman. I've got a photograph. Let's have a little look. I'm quite organized tonight, guys. Let's have a little look. You're going to have to start telling us
Yeah, okay. Well, she's been talking about her husband, Keith Urban, who is gorgeous, isn't he? The country singer, Keith Urban. And she says that he never gets jealous when she has to do love scenes in her movies. She says he's an artist, so he understands and doesn't get involved. He sees the end product once it's been edited. But they've been married for 15 years and they're always talking about their special love. And Keith says that she's his best friend. No one else in the world knows him as well as she does, and they love being together. But I don't know, how would you feel if your partner was an actor or an actress and had to do love scenes? Or if they worked very closely with women? You know, how would you feel?
I'm a Scorpio, and my belief is that if you put someone out there enough with enough attractive people, that something will happen, unless you've got a love like these two obviously do. But what about when Nicole Kidman was with Tom Cruise? Would you have put those two together?
No, absolutely not. That was a very strange coupling, I thought.
Yeah. To me, that was a coupling of people who they were too young. They were too young to get together. So I think that the connection they had was that they were both in the fame game and they could relate to the fact of needing privacy because they both kept their private lives very, very private indeed. I live in the beautiful ocean city of Plymouth, says Jules Child, and we've had a heartbreaking week and it will last for a lifetime. Let's take a moment, Jack, to talk about the events in Plymouth as well in the last few days.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's been so much on the news, I think, this week that has been so depressing, hasn't it? So sad. And it just seems to be all at once, doesn't it? You know, yeah, I mean, that was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah, our hearts do go out to everybody that might have people they knew in Plymouth or that were affected by the events in Plymouth. Whether you knew somebody there, I think the events affect you anyway. I know that my son was at college in Devon, and of course, Devon's so close to Plymouth that you worry about going anywhere nowadays. But Jack, you said something to me that was really important the other day, and this was on another piece of absolutely heartbreaking news, which is we were both watching the news about Afghanistan, and I was explaining to my daughters about what the rules that the Taliban were sort of their beliefs were. And in the end, you said to me, you know, after I'd processed it, I'd had a cry, I was upset. You said there comes a stage, guys, where you have to turn yourself off from being part of that filter to focus on keeping yourself up as well, don't you?
Yeah, especially if you're an empath, like I know you are, a lot of us are. We do sort of tend to absorb what other people are feeling and things like that. And I think if you're quite a deep person, you do that anyway. And you have to just switch off. You really, really do, because you have to live your life. I mean, you know, when I found when I lost my husband, lost my dad or whatever, you think, oh my God, you know, like I thought, why are all these people walking around like nothing else happened? They're carrying on with their lives, and my life has just ended. But you have to. The world does go on. You know, you have to keep evolving. You have to keep moving, and it's just the way to help yourself, really.
Yeah, and as you know, Jack, in the mornings I wake up and I go into my garden and I listen to the birds. And what I do, guys, is I try to decipher what the birds are trying to say to me. And last night I spent the night at Gemma Quayle's mum's house. And when I woke up in the morning, I went out into the garden with my cup of tea. And her daughter, who's only 9 years of age, came out. And she said, Auntie Claire, what are you doing? I said, well, I like to start my day by looking at nature and listening to the birds. I said, maybe you can help me. I said, what are the birds saying today? And it was, there was a little tune the bird was singing. And she said, oh, she said, they're saying, it's good morning, it's a beautiful day. And I suddenly realized that with all the sadness that we feel, we need to focus on the good, and we need to also grasp on that and feel that, because when we've woken up, the sun has risen, and we've got a chance to make that day anything that we want it to be. And it's about getting your best clothes on, getting your lipstick on if you want to, but getting out there and feeling alive, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. And actually, in my celebrity news, Ruby Wax, she has just brought out a new book called A Mindfulness Guide for Survival. And she said it's to be used as a guide on how to drop anchor when life gets too chaotic. And she wrote it to deal with this new world that we're living in after lockdown, unpredictable and full of change, and how to cope personally with the aftermath. And there's step-by-step exercises in there to deal with uncertainty, loneliness, change, dissatisfaction, and death, so that our brains become more resilient and flexible. And she said she first went into mindfulness when she got sick of listening to the worst reviews that she ever had, was her own mind, what she was saying to herself in her head. And she said it was like having her mother living inside her head. And that is so true. I do that more now. I'm more mindful because I overthink, and a lot of us do overthink. And that's when you start feeling lonely and all these things. But if you keep it to what you're doing now and focus on the now, that really does help.
So I went to see Ruby Wax with a friend of mine. She was doing a tour, and I saw her at the Brighton Theatre Royal, and she was talking openly about the fact that she suffers from very severe depression. And she had organised these coffee mornings at various Marks and Spencers across England, small venues for people who felt depressed to go and have a chat and have a talk and things like that. So she really works towards it. But I also know that working for Pam Macmillan, I've been to an awful lot of other authors' book launches, and a lot of the most famous comedians that you can imagine. I mean, names which I'll look up and see if I can, if they've openly admitted that they're depressed. But I've sat between comedians who were the funniest, most relevant comedians, and they have been the most depressive people that I know. And I think, you know, you never know what's going on behind closed doors, do you, with people?
Yeah.
But she certainly has been an incredible inspiration, Ruby Wax. I mean, I remember her from, was it Girls on Top that she did?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that was an incredible show. And I think if you can laugh at yourself as well, that's a great asset and a great trait to use for finding humour in sadness as well.
Yeah, and another thing, actually, because I think the brain is just, it's so complex. It's fascinating, isn't it, when people study the brain and things like that. But another thing to do is when you wake up, decide what sort of day you're going to have. So if you're upset or if you're low, say to yourself, okay, I'm going to be happy today. I'm going to do this. And if you program yourself to think you're happy, it actually happens. You know, it's like you're retraining your brain, and you can actually make yourself have a good day if you really try. I've started doing that, and it really does work.
I love that. Another person who's an inspiration that's got a new book coming out, I think it's next month, but we can review it as soon as it comes up, of course, is Katie Piper, who I find an amazing inspiration, who was disfigured as a model by her ex-boyfriend paying somebody to throw acid in her face. And she's got a book of affirmations coming out soon, so watch out for that one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see in the comments before we go on, Deborah Lengro is saying, hello, beautiful ladies. She has been in touch with Tyson Fury, who says that their new baby Paris is now doing very well and is home. But also, very importantly, of course, Deborah's daughter celebrated her birthday, which is why Deborah's not live with us tonight. Have a look at Deborah's birthday party for her daughter. Just look at that, how gorgeous.
Oh, that is so cute.
I'm guessing it was a Toy Story theme, and I want that hat when she's finished with it, Debs. Absolutely gorgeous. Really
yeah, we
is.
do miss you, Debs, and we can't wait to see you again next week.
Come back soon, and of course, all of the Lengro family that come on as well. So Kim Gary says she's met Katie and she's amazing. So please do tell us more about that as well. Oh, lovely. Now,
Catherine Kelly, she says she wakes up and says to herself that she's going to have a great day today. That's good.
Yeah. And can I just say a big shout out to Debs, because she was doing something at home and she burnt her hand, didn't she? She got 2nd degree burns, and she still managed to blow up all of those amazing balloons. So that is definitely somebody who's taking the positive, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, so we're asking about suffering from parental burnout. Have you, and how can we help you? We've also got some more celeb news as well. Let me just bring someone up. Not that one, just a second. I do believe it is Fern Britton.
Oh, yes. So Fern, she spoke recently about her share of heartbreak that she's had over the last few years because she split with her husband, Bill Vickery, in 2020 after 20 years of marriage. She also lost her parents and had to give up her home in Buckinghamshire. So he's got the house and she lives in Cornwall with her two daughters. She does absolutely love Cornwall, and she's got a Channel 5 series at the moment called My Cornwall. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's really good. She talks about why Cornwall is so special, and it's really worth watching. But one particular part of it, she was talking to a West Country witch called Michelle, and she said, Fern said, that one day she was out and she saw a family of pixies. She said there was a tiny father, tiny mother, and two children wearing russet clothing. She said she couldn't believe it. She rubbed her eyes, and then when she opened them, they turned into grouse. Now, she says it's completely bonkers, but she swears that is what she's seen. And apparently, so many people have seen similar things in Cornwall.
Wow.
Now, if anybody else had said that, I'd be, but
Yeah.
Fern, you know.
Now, that's really interesting because actually, one of the things that Fern Britton does as a positive affirmation is back in 2000, I went on a charity trek for 5 children's charities, trekking the Great Wall of China for 10 days. And the previous person who'd been doing a trek was Fern Britton. So she even puts herself out, and she's done bike rides for charity. And I think sometimes pushing your boundaries as well can ensure that you don't feel like this and from parental burnout. And now I saw Fern Britton as well on, I think it was Good Morning Britain, or this morning, and she was talking about these holidays. And one of the reasons that she was down in the West Country is she used to go there with her mother and her aunt when she was younger. And the thing that I found really funny is she used to say about how, you know, you didn't have the motorways back then, and they had to sort of take all the back roads in order to get there. She said, but her memories of going down to the West Country when she was young is actually of the car windows being up, and her mum and her aunt continuously smoking cigarettes in the car until you couldn't see in the car for it. And then you'd get out and the beach would be there and you could run onto the beach. So the smell of cigarettes reminded her of her holidays in the West Country. So there's some lovely stories, and she's an absolutely lovely lady as well. And Kim Gary's been watching My Cornwall as well.
So Kim, did you see the part about the pixies, and do you believe her? I mean, what do you think, Claire? What do you think about
well, Catherine's commented, and I did know actually as well, but I didn't say anything. Leah, who's a relation of me, Leah Lengro, she's given readings to Fern Britton, and actually I would trust what Fern said. So she's given me belief, but then who's to say? Because I also believed when I was a child years ago, those photographs that were taken with the fairies were real. Do you remember the photographs that were taken on camera that were later revealed? So I think in anything in life, you can get real versions of things and fake versions as well, can't you? Chrissy Wheaton says her dad, Tony Britton, was an amazing actor.
Yes.
And James, let's pick you up for a moment. James says, I've been feeling low and had panic attacks for the last 3 weeks. I tend to overthink and try my best not to let it show. It is sometimes gets far too much. So like today, I have meltdowns. I can't stop them and they leave me feeling numb. I don't think that having bad experience after bad experience in a short space of time helps. My uncle died. I had 3 operations, depression. I think it's about maybe getting yourself some books and some people who can reaffirm positive affirmations, James. Don't you agree?
I think, James, have you been to see the doctor about how you're feeling? You know, because I think you really should talk to the doctor, because, you know, it might be a case of you might need a bit of medication for a short period of time, perhaps. But yeah, I really think you should speak to your GP about that.
James, tomorrow morning for all of us at Lengro, do pick up the phone, talk to your doctor, talk to your friends, talk to your family, and take the first step. It's often the hardest. The next one will be easier. And we at Lengro are here to support you and, of course, to uplift you as well. Well, Kim Gary says, yes, I believe I've seen a fairy when I was a little girl, but I love Catherine Kelly's. She says, I do believe in fairies. Takes me back to Tinkerbell, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Kirsten's heard the stories about it as well. Yeah, it's definitely well known in Cornwall, apparently. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so going on now, let's get things a little bit spookier, shall we? Let me have a little look here. I'm just looking for the right picture. Okay, are you ready for some goosebumps on your arms? Let's have a little look at this picture.
Oh gosh. Well, we've got our paranormal show coming up, our second paranormal show in the October half term, Mitch Jenkins tells us. So I thought one of the things we could perhaps look into was haunted dolls. So I thought today I would do a bit of research into it, and it's absolutely incredible what I found. So I've been researching, and there's lots of Facebook groups and online sites dedicated to selling haunted, not just dolls, but haunted items. And people believe that these dolls hold spirits of people that have passed away with unresolved issues or died in dramatic or tragic circumstances. And I hopefully will be talking to a lady who collects these dolls about her experiences. And she actually wants to tell people, about these dolls. And she's in Australia. So hopefully she's going to be coming on the paranormal show to talk about that. But they believe that souls find their way into these dolls because they've got a human-like experience. And I had a look on eBay, and the bidding for these, it's incredible. Bidding for a haunted rabbit doll started at £199, and the prices range from £5 to £5,000. And I mean, some people think they should just be left alone. They should just be bought and kept, and don't summon up something that you can't banish, is what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah.
But there's actually also a haunted doll orphanage site on Facebook where doll enthusiasts can chat and post pictures. They can buy and sell their dolls. And there was someone on there that was actually looking. He specifically said he's looking for a doll that slams and moves doors. Someone else had a doll with negative energy and it moved itself a few times, so she wanted to sell it. But some just like to keep them in a safe place for the spirit in the doll to feel safe and then live out their death in a nice family environment. And some actually keep them for company. But the haunted objects, I think that we've got the picture there. I mean, they say on every site, everyone experiences different things. So a spirit might be in one item. It might not necessarily communicate the same way to another person who buys it. And some people specifically ask to buy an object that is possessed. So the ring that you can see at the top was owned by a powerful witch renowned for her ability to open a portal that allows communication with the other side. And the green amethyst pendant you can see on the right contains a spirit essence of an Egyptian witch who is friendly and kind. She intends to connect with the owner and use her powers to bring balance to the heart and soul and keep the person, help the person become a magnet for positive change. And the two dolls you can see in the middle are Anna and Martha, and they're best friends.
Wow. So I definitely believe in portals, but if I did this to you, what old television series am I trying to react?
Tales of the Unexpected?
Right. So when Tales of the Unexpected was on, and my mother and father used to go out for the night, I was allowed to sleep in their bed. Thomas Wyatt has joined us. Thomas, hello. I'm going to be talking about in a moment, and I'll read out your comment just after this. I've got an amazing story about Thomas as well. So Tales of the Unexpected was on. I wasn't supposed to be watching TV in my mum and dad's room. I was supposed to be sleeping in their bed. There was an episode of Tales of the Unexpected about a mannequin, a dummy that a man had, who ended up controlling him when he was on stage. And I'd watched it and I knew I shouldn't watch it. And I felt so guilty for watching it because it scared the bejesus out of me. And I couldn't tell my parents that I'd watched it because I was supposed to be in bed asleep. And lo and behold, a month later, my brother for Christmas got a mannequin that looked like this dummy from Tales of the Unexpected. And we lived at the time in a very old vicarage that felt haunted anyway, and I'm sure it was. And I had to make my parents get rid of this doll and admit, because I believed that he was making things happen and following things round. And my grandmother had to come and sort him out. And I never found out what she did with this mannequin that my brother had been bought, you know, that you could sort of hold up and make talk and things like that. So let's have a little look, because Thomas Wyatt has joined us, guys, and I would love to get him on a live, both one things and also on a Lengro live as well. So Thomas says, yes, I have a doll in my home office for my spiritual work. Her name is Adelaide, the porcelain bride. She has a lovely energy of the previous owner. Thomas, I need to send you a code right now and invite you on this live right now. If you could ask Sammy Norcup to send you the code, then I can bring you on here to tell our viewers a little bit more about them. Hold on. I won't type that. If you could message Sammy, if that's possible, and tell her that we've sent you a code. But Thomas Wyatt is a psychic medium who's part of the Friends of Derek Akora project. And today I popped on his live, and he gave me a reading, and the reading that Thomas gave me was absolutely incredible. Thomas, you blew me away. He told me words that my grandmother, who died when I was 16, would only say to me, that were a very special order of words as well. And he also told me about a contract that was coming up that he couldn't possibly have known about as well. So if you're not following Thomas Wyatt, then make sure that you are on his personal page, please, but also, of course, on Derek Akora's page. So we've got backup from a true professional there as well. Maybe Thomas can tell us what you do if you have a doll where the spirit and the energy doesn't feel good as well. Let's have a little look. Tales of the Unexpected says Kim Gary. Let's have a little look. Kim Gary says, do you want to read out Kim Gary's comment?
Yep. Everything is energy. So when that person dies, their energy is left behind with items. That's why in some cultures they like to burn everything, so your energy is not left behind.
So in culture, it is our religion and our practice that we burn everything. And so here's a good story for you. When my grandmother died, I wasn't allowed to go and sit with her because I was so close to her. My mother and my uncle were in the home with her, and she lived with my uncle. So they decided late at night, when her body had been removed, to go and take all of her possessions and to put them in the garden and to set fire to absolutely everything. Because since I was a young child, I've been working with my grandmother. Gypsies don't believe in banks. So we put our money into gold jewelry, or we hide our money, or we put it into very expensive crockery. That's why we have Mason's Ironstone, Crown Derby, so that we can keep our possessions with us and sell it when the time is right. We never trusted banks. So they said, well, we're burning everything. We're sitting here, we're drinking brandy, but we can't find her money. And we know that from working with you, you gave her half the money that you took. And I said, you're burning everything. They went, yeah, we're burning her clothes. We're drinking brandy. It's all on fire in the garden. So I turned around and I said, well, I used to sit with her there, and she used to sing la, 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 and sew it into the linings of her mohair long waterfall style coats that she used to wear. And it was all up in flames, and all of the money was burning. And my mother turned around to me on the phone and she said, well, good luck to her. She might need it to cross to where she's going, and she's taking it with her. So we burnt all of the money that I'd worked 7 days a week for, 10 till 10. And I'm so glad that we did. So yeah, that's something that I definitely
actually changing the subject, but talking about money.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig has said that he won't be leaving his fortune to his children because he dislikes inheritance. He finds it distasteful, so he would rather just get rid of the money rather than give it to his children. He has a 29-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old daughter with Rachel Buys. That's it.
What is the reason he's not leaving his money to his children?
He just thinks it's distasteful. Inheritance is distasteful, that they should obviously go out and earn their own money. So he would rather just give it away.
No.
I mean, how do people feel about that? Do you think your children, should have your money? Should you leave your money to your children? Or do you think they should go out and earn their own money?
Okay, so I've just put a banner up for that if you'd like to comment, guys. Another very famous face that gave all of her money away was the Body Shop's Anita Roddick, who used to, when she was a child, help my father with his speedboats because she lived in Brighton. And when she died, she left none of her money to her children for the same reason. What do you think, guys? If you earned lots of money, do you think your children should learn the way that you did if you had to build your finances up, or would you make sure that they were set up for life? I don't know, Jack. What do you think? Where should we leave our millions?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to. I'd have left everything to my children in my will, obviously. So you just have to. And I think you have to also do it half and half, because you don't want, when you go, them to be squabbling, or anything like that. So I mean, that's what we earn our money for. I mean, we want to enjoy our money ourselves, obviously, but if there's anything left, why would we give it away to somebody we don't know? Or no, I think definitely give your money to your children.
Well, I do what I do as a living because it's part of who I am, and I would do it even if I was a millionaire. I would still be doing readings, but I actually only work to earn money for my children. That is why, to get them the things that they want and the things that they love. Kath, let's have a little look. So somebody's asking about silver bowls. Why do gypsies put their money into silver bowls and diamonds? Because they can sell them, because they'd be worth money as well. So when I was working for the Express newspapers and OK magazine, rather than put a good chunk of the money into the bank, the first thing I did was go to Harrods, have a glass of champagne, go to Harvey Nichols, have a second glass of champagne, and my mother took me into Tiffany's, where I bought a diamond necklace that I didn't take off for many, many years. So yeah, that's why, to keep our money with us.
And I remember Debs, we were talking about this not so long ago, and Debs was saying, she works so hard for her children. She needs money for their weddings, because in the gypsy culture, you have these massive weddings, don't you? Yeah. And they've got to, to help them buy their houses and whatever. So, yeah.
Well, when I got married, the first time, all of my relations bought me a Mason's Ironstone Mandalay plate, and they're about £100 each. And I think I had like 20 of these plates first of all, and then somebody else would buy me the lamp to go with it, and they would buy me the whole crockery set, because that was their belief that if I needed the money, I could sell one of them as well. Catherine Kelly says, I think I'd leave everything to my granddaughter so she doesn't have to struggle, because I have in life as well.
That's lovely.
Oh, bless you. That is so nice. I don't think I'm going to be watching many Daniel Craig films anymore. Shall we go on to health? Let me find a picture about health. Let's have a little look. Now, I can give you a link to our segment on health, because one of the ways, ladies and gentlemen, that you can keep healthy is by drinking from the Claire Petcher Lengro gemstone infused water bottles, which are available on my website. But Jack, Tyler, why else are we showing my gorgeous water bottles?
Well, because we're told, aren't we, that we need to drink a certain amount of water. But do any of us really know how much water we're really supposed to be drinking? So the NHS Eat Well Guide said we should be having 6 to 8 glasses of fluid, or 2 litres a day. Hydration is linked to improved mood, brain function, and good digestion. Now, I always forget to drink when I'm out and about, or I'm busy. I forget to drink. So that's why we should keep a reusable water bottle like yours beside us, so that we can keep drinking. But also, if you have a diet that's rich in fruit and vegetables, that increases your water intake.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't know this, but I knew drinking too much coffee and alcohol could act as a diuretic, but I didn't know tea was. So you need to drink more water if you drink a lot of tea, coffee, and alcohol. And I drink tons of tea, so I thought that was a really good thing, because I'm drinking lots of water.
I've got some backstage that we can ask how much water they drink, and I'm so stoked and excited that he's joined us, because
wow,
actually talked. Thomas, hello.
Hi. You're on mute.
How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
Sorry, I have I'm not very tech savvy, so it took me a lot longer than planned. So I do apologise.
Oh, that's all right. We're glad to have you,
Thomas.
Thank you very much. You caught me at I was a bit sprawled out, and I thought, oh God, let's try and do something here. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
Yeah, we're good, thanks.
In just a moment, Thomas, we're going to be talking about your doll that you've got, and you can tell us more about it and how we should refer to it. But first of all, our lovely presenter, Jack Tyler, is talking about water. So my first question that I'll hand you over to Jack is, how much water do you drink a day?
A lot of water. My main intake is water. I have recently cut out caffeine as well, so I'm drinking just like hot water and honey and lemon, those types of things. I would be very easily dehydrated, so water's really, really important. And the body's like built up with like 80% water, I believe. Is that right? Some sort of a scientific term to it, but yeah, a lot of water comes into this mouth.
Yeah, that's great, because I didn't realise that by drinking a lot of tea, you're actually losing the water. It's a diuretic. I thought that was a really good thing, but yeah. And apparently, but we know you lose a lot of water when you sweat as well. So when we're in the heat, we need to drink more. Or if you're ill, fever, vomiting, or bladder infection. Also, if you're breastfeeding or you're pregnant, you need to drink more. And don't drink water with meals, because it dilutes the digestive acids and enzymes, which makes digestion more difficult. So you shouldn't drink while you're eating.
Right. Well, I tell you, Jack, Thomas, I was sweating enough this morning to need about 10 litres of water. My kids play place. I had to do these zip lines. I had to do everything. But do you know what? I've always been quite like slim all my life. So I never really worried about health. And Cameron Diaz, she never worried about like her skin or what she was eating, because she always looked good. And it was only when she got older that she was like saying you have to have 2 litres of water a day. And it's only when normally if you have a health issue in your own life, a health setback, that you then go, oh, I'm going to be good now. But when you gave up caffeine, did you like get the shakes? Did you miss it? How did you get on?
I was a little bit demonic, I'm not going to lie. Coffee is life. It keeps me, especially, Claire, this line of work, it's very, very rapid. It's very busy. But I do have a medical condition, which is why I had to make the decision to try and switch it out. I was really, really bad, like quick, fast energy drinks, just go on to the next meeting, on to the next thing. But it's not good. So water has always been the preference, say, from my own medical expertise, from what they're telling me. But more so recently, which is I'm trying to behave. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I love it. People only ever get to see Thomas giving readings, and the whole reason that we do Lengro Lives is so we can sometimes talk about other things. Because, like Thomas, if you meet people, the first thing they do, isn't it, is it's like being a dentist. If someone was a dentist, you go, oh, what would you do with my teeth? Or if you were a hairdresser, what would you do with my hair? When you meet people being a psychic, what's kind of like the first questions they ask you? Is it, can I have a reading?
It is. I mean, we have a roadmap and a blueprint of different. If I'm working in a certain town doing a show, we don't go shopping there. We go to the opposite side. It's not to avoid people, but when I'm working, it's a different energy. It's not really me, so I don't take the credit for the work that comes out, because I don't believe it comes from me. I don't believe that I am gifted. I believe it's something much more stronger than me, and I'm just the messenger of that. So when someone comes up to me and you're just out with your family, you're trying to get your groceries, you maybe don't look the part, your scruffs and your Uggs on, you just run into the garage. It's not the time for me to bring through your long lost relative, but most people do, definitely. I remember there was a lady a few years ago. She stopped, she put her arms and legs out in the middle of the aisle in the shopping centre, and she screamed my name, and I thought, oh dear, oh, please don't. And at that point, I had really only started working in the public domain. My readings were very private because of my health. So it was just sort of touch and go. And I thought, please don't bring all this attention to me. I can't cope. But she was adamant that she wanted a reading right there in aisle 3. And I was just trying to get some kitchen roll. But as you do, yeah, it's the first thing people think. And sometimes people will come and, they'll meet me and they'll say things, oh, you brought through my brother or my uncle, my aunt, whoever it may be. And I won't remember. And it's not that I'm above them, it's that I'm at a higher frequency when I'm working. It's kind of when you're in the flow. Yeah. So it means I don't remember everything. And it's good, because then I can't speak about people's private business, but they expect you to remember just their reading, not the 5,000 reading that you've done that month or whatever it may be. But yeah, that stands out, arms and legs, right in the middle of the shop.
I think it was funny. You say that, like, when you're doing a reading, you go on a higher energy. But one of the reasons I fell in love with you when I first met you is because you are you, and your personality comes across, so much that you're who you are and you're natural and everything like that. But I think I was actually going to get toilet roll the other day, and I had to phone Jack. And I'm telling you this story. This is a true story that happened the other day with Jack, and I was horrified. I went out in tracksuit bottoms and a flip flop. The extensions were kind of hanging out a bit, on my hair at the top. Gone into the shop, and it was like one of the corner shops that you've got. And I put what I wanted on the counter, and the woman looked at me and she said, "Do you want your usual, a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of Lucozade?" And I went, "I don't drink whiskey." She went, "Oh, sorry." She said, "I got you confused with a woman that comes in every day for whiskey and Lucozade." And I got out the shop and I phoned Jack. I went, "I'm never wearing this outfit. I'm getting my extensions redone next week." It was horrified. But I get mostly, rather than my name, I get people going, "I know you, but I don't know where I know you from." Do you ever get that?
Yeah. I get that, and then I get a lot of comparisons. So I get, "Oh, you're like Tyler Henry," and I'm thinking, I wish I had that kind of income.
What I was saying on my live earlier, that I picked up for you clairvoyantly that you would come over to England, that you would get snatched up by someone else, so all of your plans would change, because actually somebody would see you and go down on it, like come down on you and go, "What? I've got this offer for you." And I also had this vision of a book that I saw that had pictures in the book, where you'd have an artist illustrate something, and the book looked like it should be a coffee table book, but it wasn't really a coffee table book. And I can't wait to see how that prediction, comes out. Lewis Wetton says he got mistaken for Mariah Carey. That's good. Jack, interview our lovely Thomas. It's amazing.
So Thomas, talking about books, do you remember Madonna's book? Do you remember Claire Sex, her book Sex, her coffee table book called Sex? And it was everybody was outraged about it, and it sold out straight away, didn't it? Do you remember? What do you think about Madonna, Thomas? Do you like Madonna?
I do. I think, to have longevity in any career is an accomplishment. So if you can keep reinventing yourself, if you can keep bringing something new to the table, that shows stability, that shows endurance to me. And I think people like artists, singers, songwriters, actors, whatever it is, if you can keep recreating something but remain yourself, that's very, very tricky. If you're doing the same blasé thing, maybe you'll have like a one-hit wonder, if you like. But I suppose a big fan of Madonna, yeah. Never got to see her, though. Anyone got to see her in concert?
Yeah.
We both did, didn't we? We both did.
Unbelievable.
You asked the next question, but I've got to ask a question. If you weren't doing what you did as a living, what would you pick to do as a living, Thomas?
Well, before I fully fledged took on this career full time, I was going to be a nurse. I was training to be a nurse. I worked in healthcare from I was about 15. Went there, did like a work placement, was studying health and social care. And that was my goal. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to help people. I found the gift or the ability very difficult with, people at the end of their life. But they, and they mean it with love, but they would call me the Black Widow. So if I was on a night shift and someone was poorly, and they would and I would go, this might be the time. But I could always tell. So it was those two words were always, colliding. And then I had a bit of a health scare a few years ago, and I had to take a major step back. Just physically couldn't do the work. And then I believe everything happens for a reason. And this landed on my lap, and it was like, do it now or don't do it at all. It's kind of the road where you have to give it your all. You try to separate the two, a personal life and a working balance, but it is you. It's who you are, I suppose. Yeah. And I've tried many times to, let's say, retire, but I keep finding my way back. So,
what ambitions have you got? Have you got any ambitions, Thomas?
There's lots of things in the pipeline that I sleep with a notepad beside my bed, because well, sleep is a very strong term. There's not a lot of sleep happening, but my brain doesn't stop. So there's always something I'm thinking of, or something that I want to create. It's funny, the Claire has mentioned things about books and stuff. There's lots of those stuff that are coming forward. I've been really, really blessed with the like of, Gwen Cora and the like of the people that help me on my page, and just not feeding the ego, but encouraging you to kind of go for what you want. So there's lots of things, like things like cards that Claire has. So I want to work on my own cards. So I would be, it's a fancy word, but it's called, I'm an angelologist. So it basically means someone that has the study of angels. It just means I know a little bit, and I've invested a bit of time over there to study them. So my cards would be predominantly angel-based cards. So something like that. And there's definitely it's came up a few times. So I think Clara's hit the nail in the coffin there with regards to a book of some description. So it's very, very, very interesting.
Jack, I'll let you ask another question, but I just wanted to say what I'd seen for Thomas. And guys, I know that you're commenting for cards, but this is a Lengro Live is all about us having our downtime to be us, and make sure you're following Thomas on his page as well. But there was almost this thing coming up in the future for you, where instead of giving people just readings, I saw you drawing something for them that would be a message in the drawing that would mean something either their past, their present, or their future. But it's funny because it was like you're drawing a tarot card. So I don't know whether you would create your cards based on, again, because I created my cards based on my heritage. And, you know, I knew that Xavier Petulengro would be, you know, the hermit card, for example. And I think that with you, I almost saw you putting things in your life. So maybe that when you used your own cards, when people learn tarot cards, they know what the card means. But with yours, the angel card that you create, you would know what it meant every time you turn it, because there would be a character or something from your own life that would go on it that goes, that's what I wanted to say to that person. You know, that's where I was going with this. Sorry,
I feel just briefly, I don't want to cut you off, but I feel briefly too, you have what is known as earth angels. So there's a lot of people in my life who have helped me get to where I am and inspired me and still do. So that would be a huge part. So I can definitely resonate, Clara, even with you saying your heritage is so important to you. It's the people that have kind of stuck by me, and, you know, not the ones that thought this is a bit strange, but the ones that have stuck by and went, you're actually helping people. So that would be a huge amalgamation for me, definitely going forward.
Yeah, I love angel cards. I can't wait for you to do that. Oh my God, that's so exciting. But we can't go without you telling us about your doll.
Yes.
So I have one doll, and I wish it was open and it was here, but we are in the middle of doing merchandise. So I ran. That's a very loose term. I waddled up the stairs to the office to just try and position myself and not look as frightening. You would have thought this was a scary doll coming on. So the doll that I have is Adelaide. It's known as the porcelain bride because it's a bride sort of figurine, and she's dressed in bridal couture. Couture being a loose term, just vintage clothing. She was a gift to a lady on her wedding day. So it was a gift passed down to her. So this lady had this doll 60 plus years. Her husband had passed on, and all her children had grown up and moved out of the house, and she had started to get sort of ailments, and age had started to set in, let's just say. And Sally, the lady, now I have permission because I spoke about this before, her son told me I could speak about her story just to explain the history of the doll. She suffered from Alzheimer's, and she started to lose sort of her independence, if you like. So family then returned home, as you do, to look after your own and support your family, which is a big, big thing here in Ireland. You stick by your people and make sure they're okay. So that was what they done. And this doll became an absolute fascination. She wouldn't eat without the doll unless the doll was seated at the table. She would not sleep unless the doll was tucked in. And initially they thought, this is just mum's mind. This is just part of the illness. You know, she's created an attachment to this. So it's a comfort. It's fine. That her son, her eldest son, was never allowed to touch the doll, even before mum took ill. Never allowed. She was always kept clean and pristine. She would steam the dress. You know, this is going back years before she even took ill. The lady passed away, was it two and a half years ago, and may she rest in peace. But the family, as you do, go in and try and sort through a few items, and he refused to touch the doll. I don't know if it's a childhood sort of traumatic thing. I wasn't allowed to touch that, and I don't want to touch it now. He was able to sort of hand down and pass on all these different items, but couldn't figure out what to do with this doll, and just left it in mum's room. In her wee seat, she had a chair, and left it there. So I thought, right, okay. I responded to this email. As I'm sure you get plenty of emails as well, Claire, about lots of random stuff. People do think we're somewhat of Ghostbusters, different number. So me and my partner drove over, and beautiful, beautiful stately home, and one hand, one finger, and just sort of handed it. And I thought, oh God, is he being a bit dramatic? Told me the story, and we strapped her in, brought her home, and I'm just watching in the mirror. I thought, oh, you're going to be fun. So what we did was, I have a small supporters group, so we live streamed there, and we did doll watch. Did we see plenty? So there's no, I believe physical mediumship and manifestation takes a very long time. It takes a lot of energy. So at that time, there wasn't enough within the doll. But when I tuned in, it was the essence of that lady. So from what I understand, there was a soul attached to the doll prior, which is why this lady had this fascination when she became ill. That soul then departed and she became attached to the doll. So it's a very warm and loving energy. I haven't encountered negative. I have before, but not with this lovely piece. And I must actually send Claire a picture so she can post it and you can let people see. She's actually very, very beautiful. I was conscious all the way home in the car, just looking in the wing mirror going, okay, let's see if this is going to be an Annabelle situation, because her name is Adelaide. And I thought, oh, this can't be. Am I really smart bringing this home? My brother threatened to move out. There was lots of conversations in our house because obviously everyone's working from home at the minute. But I have had a very good experience. So it's more the essence of the soul that's attached to it, which is beautiful. It's warm. It's maternal. But dolls are a very strong beacon for spirits because they have a lifelike, the eyes of the doll, and especially porcelain dolls, because their faces don't move, or they shouldn't. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But there's been lots of findings over the years of things that have been done. In my case, the lovely doll that I have, she's very pleasant. She's very warm, and she wants to nurture people when she comes forward. So she does do quite a few different things in regards to orbs and. It's mainly the dress. The dress seems to be more historically attuned than her physicality. It's hard to explain, but in my perspective, Adelaide is so far so good. She's being very well behaved. I don't know how she feels because she's technically in the attic at the minute, so she mightn't be too impressed with that when I bring her down.
The really interesting things that you said tonight as well is because I grew up in a gypsy family, I was always surrounded by so many family members that nurtured my gifts. So I was brought up knowing that I would be a clairvoyant, knowing, to nurture my gift. And I think that sometimes when people become psychic later in life, it's because they haven't had the support, but they had the gift all along. I've also had lots of clients who have become empathic and had clairvoyant abilities through mental health problems or health problems that have come to them. But also when you get portals and also when people are dying and the spirit is leaving the body, these are all sort of stages that you've said of people where things can happen. And I think, you get good and bad people in life. So you can get good and bad dolls, good and bad. Don't you agree, Jack, as well?
Yeah. I think it's just the whole subject is so fascinating. It's only really looking into it that I realised, how many people are actually interested in this sort of thing. But Thomas, we've got a paranormal show coming up in October. Will you come on and show us your doll and talk about it with us?
Oh, absolutely. Let's hope she's on her best behaviour.
Let's hope she's not. That would make it really interesting.
Let's hope she's not. So maybe that I've put her in the attic, that might irritate her a little bit, so she might be ready to rumble come the paranormal show.
Also, Jack, maybe you could tell Thomas about the lady in Australia and put them in touch as well.
Yeah, we've got a lady in Australia. As I was researching, I came across her because she's got all these dolls as well. And so I got in touch with her and she said, yeah, she would love to come on to explain about them like you just have, because it sounds really creepy and really scary. But when you talk about it, it actually doesn't sound that scary, really, does it?
I think, there's a missing tool in this line of work, and it's the missing tool is logic. You have to remember that the soul has a blueprint. They were here and they will be here long after we are gone. So it's very much like you said, if they were a good soul, they will be the same. They don't change, I believe, in soul progression, but you're very much the same personality. So if you're a bad egg, you're going to be grumpy and grouchy and a Victor Meldrew coming through again. So that part of you will remain the same. That's how you identify yourself. But I just feel sometimes we have to take away the narrative of the Ghostbusters, the fright and stuff. Like I do a lot of paranormal work as well. We would do cemetery walks. We would tour reluctantly. I can't give out locations because it's probably not allowed in. But different properties that are manifested with spirit. Different, there was one property I went to a few months ago, and it was so many different things over the years. It was a war hospital, it was a mortuary, it was an orphanage. So it had all these different elements to it. So you had the youth and innocence of children's spirit, and then you had the war heroes coming through. So the paranormal work is phenomenal, and it's a huge, huge tool, but it lets the everyday person have a bit of insight. I think, as well, and understand that it's not the Annabelle doll on TV, that it's actually the real essence of someone, good or bad, but they want to be seen and heard.
Yeah. My grandmother always taught me as well, when I was younger and I sort of had these spirits coming through and I didn't want that. That's not what I wanted to follow as a path. My grandma always said, you know, you are stronger. You just say no, go away. And that it's only in films that they sort of ham it up. But you must go, Thomas, as well, to the Channel Islands, to where they kept all the Jews and the gypsies. I walked through the tunnels and the hospital as well. For you, I just get this feeling that you would pick up so much from the hospital. Jack Tyler comes down to Brighton as a friend as well as a work colleague, and we recently did a ghost walk as well, didn't we, Jack?
We did, yeah. We're going to be showing that on the Paranormal Show as well, aren't we? But it was pouring with rain. It was the worst weather ever, wasn't it? But it was really interesting, though. It was really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really good. We are out of time. I hope you've enjoyed meeting Thomas as much as I have. I've got one last question. What does Thomas do when he's not working?
Wow, that is such a hard question, and it should be the easiest question of the night. I really enjoy my quiet. I like to be out, so I'm a bit like you, Claire. You know, you get a full throttle of week's work, and then I get like one day off, so it's family, it's food, it's being lazy, it's watching all the rubbish TV and maybe reading a book or two, well, halfway, and then you watch something else. So I really enjoy quiet time. I think when you have all that static and all that noise going, it's nice to just hear and see nothing for a change. So I'm very much an introvert pretending to be an extrovert when I'm working. So that's very much me.
Thomas, you had me at food, didn't you, Jack? Well, we're going to play the exit video now. Do not forget, please, to follow Thomas Wyatt. There's lots more coming up, and we're going to make sure that we have Thomas back as well. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Let me just find the outro video. I've had to become a bit of a tech in my age, my old age, Thomas. So let me play us out. Just 1 second. Let's have a little look. See, this is where it all goes wrong. Right, Jack, you're going to have to talk us out while I find it.
Yeah, well, good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. If we spooked you about dolls, then go and watch Toy Story.